Joining me now, Jim Walsh, Senior Research Associate at MIT Security Studies Program. Good to see you. You're one of a handful of Americans who's traveled to North Korea for talks with officials about nuclear issues. So what do you make of Kim Jong-un's decision to let these prisoners go?
Well, I must say I've been on a bit of an emotional roller coaster. You know, in less than 24 hours, we have I've worked on Iran and North Korea for almost 20 years. And in less than 24 hours, the president has violated the international nuclear agreement with Iran. Sad. And then brought these 3 Americans back home. Great. So I'm very excited about it. I think it's great news for every American. I sort of expected it. This is a summit process that is building, and both sides seem to be doing their best, or all sides seem to be doing their best to try to make it a successful summit. And to do that, they were going to have to release those 3 detainees. So good news, not surprising, but very good news.
Yeah, and all 3 are said to be in good health, and the president says they're going to announce this date and time for his meeting with Kim Jong-un. Mike Pompeo did tweet about this. He said, "I had a productive meetings in Pyongyang with Chairman Kim Jong-un and made progress. I'm delighted to bring home 3 Americans." How does this set the stage for that meeting?
Well, I think the North Koreans have done a series of things. Sometimes we forget what they've done. This is only the most recent. It started off when they told their South Korean colleagues that, yeah, it's okay, we'll meet even if you have military exercises. That's okay. So that was one concession. And then they said, yes, we're willing to talk about denuclearization, which previously they said they were reluctant to. That was a second concession. And then third, they said that they would freeze all missile tests for the foreseeable future, and then they've released the detainees. So what does that tell me? You know, there's a big debate in Washington about whether the North Koreans are serious or not, whether this is just a game to try to undermine sanctions. And frankly, we don't know the answer to that question. What we can say, though, I think with a lot of evidence that I just mentioned, is that the North Koreans are serious about the meeting. They want this summit to go well. They have done a lot to prepare for it, as have the South Koreans, and they've done a lot to try to put the Trump administration, I would say, in a good mood or in a good frame heading towards these negotiations.
Well, to that point, listen to what the president said last hour during his cabinet meeting. He was asked if he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize after the prisoner release. Here's what he said.
Everyone thinks so, but I would never say it. You know what I want to do? I want to get it finished. The prize I want is victory for the world. Not for even here. I want victory for the world, because that's what we're talking about. So that's the only prize I want.
So we'll leave the Nobel up to the Nobel Committee, but do you think that we're in a position here, which a lot of people were very skeptical about, that real change could happen?
Oh, I think it's always a possibility. I've said for years, one way to test the North Koreans is to sit down and talk to them, to put the proposition on the table and force them to decide whether they're going to bargain or whether they're going to walk away from bargaining. I've always believed in diplomacy. Hold your friends close and your enemy closer. But speaking of diplomacy, that was a brilliant piece of statecraft when President Moon of South Korea floated the idea of nominating the president for a Nobel Prize. That is a psychological strategy. That is a political strategy that is meant to sort of set up a meeting that goes well, and then the president will embrace it as his victory, and then it will be sustained, because the bureaucracy is going to attack it and other people will attack whatever comes out of that meeting. But if he is committed to it personally, underline personally, then it gives something a shot to actually succeed in this weird, weird world that we live in.
Jim Walsh, great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.